Hey, for those of you who are joining us after we've already done this live, go ahead and jump to the 5-minute mark. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get this started with the content part at the 5-minute mark. Okay, so go ahead and do it right now. I'll see you in a bit. How you doing? I'm just gonna wait till minute 5. We're at about 2 minutes right now, and I'll get started then. And go ahead and type your name in right now so I can see who you are, please. Let me know when you pop on. Let me know when you pop on. Oops, I better turn it down. Hey, for those of you who just got on, it's Ryan Young, KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually start going into the topic at minute 5. We're at right now 3:25, just to get a few more people on. One word of advice, don't look at yourself on your laptop while you're streaming on your phone because it's actually behind. So yeah, I just saw myself pull my laptop in front of the phone. If you have any question, feel free to go and type it in right now. Haven't done a stream in a while. Somebody had asked me, actually a couple people had asked me about doing one, so I thought I'd get back into the practice again of doing a stream. If you don't mind, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already. That would help a lot. Thanks. About 40 more seconds. I actually got a concept that I wanted to go over today that actually was pretty cool. How long you been training and what's your rank? All right, 5 minutes. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. And being that we are in January of 2019, January, everybody kind of marks as a time where they want to get some things done. Stuff that they've always been kind of thinking about over time. And it's a nice, convenient time to get started and think to yourself, okay, let me figure out what this goal is and let me go and hit it. You know, one of the cliches that we always go through in life is, I'm gonna get to doing something at this point, or if I had this, I could do this. And in reality, you know, now, and I've been through that as well. You know, me being on my way to 51 years old now, I've lived a little bit, and what I've come to realize is that it is very easy for me to say I wanna do something and then not follow through with it, right? Doing something actually takes effort, whereas saying you want to do something takes almost no effort at all. So here's one of the things that I always do, and as you see, I've got the chalkboard behind me. What I always do is when I want to do something, I actually get it down on paper. Well, not really paper. I have it down on my laptop. I have a Google Notes file that I've mentioned before in other videos. And what I'll do is I'll go and put a note down and I pin it to the top. And when I pin it to the top, then every time I open Google Notes, I'll see it. And what I'll do is I'll have a checklist, things I need to get done. And it kind of stays in front of me until it's either a task that no longer needs to be done or until I've actually completed it. So here we are, beginning of 19. And this is a Jiu-Jitsu channel. But being that we don't do techniques on this channel, they're all done on our Patreon channel that Master Dave pretty much does all the videos on those. I've done a few, but most of the techniques are done on Patreon. So as far as YouTube, what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to give my students in the academy a little bit of extra insight. Got a puppy and the door stopped. She just went and hit it by accident. It kind of startled her. And what I want to do is I use this kind of as a supplement for all my students so that they can go and watch this so that I don't have to go over a lecture in class. And a lot of times it kind of helps because once I get into class and I start saying something, then I see nodding like they've seen it before. And I've checked with a lot of them, and I would say a good number of them watch the videos pretty regularly. They have us up on their alerts so it pops up. So hopefully this will benefit all of you as well, in addition to our students. So first thing is you need to define what you want to do. Just jot it down, right? If you just think about it, you'll forget it. So many times I thought to myself, yeah, I got to do that, I got to do it. And I forgot all about it. And then maybe 6 months to a year later, I'm thinking, oh, that's right. I remember telling myself I need to do it. And I'm not sure when I told myself to do it. You know, that's how bad it gets. So just jot it down. You know, we've all got smartphones these days or laptops or iPads or whatever. And just open a notes file and just at least write it down. And then that way you took the first step of getting it from your mind to something that you can check back on later on. Now, another thing too is you need to get into the habit of checking back on it. So I will refer back to mine frequently because I know that I've got so many things going through my head right now, I can never remember anything in particular, so I need to jot it down. And when I jot it down, I'm always looking at those notes, then I'll know. Now, I guess it can kind of be a problem because you end up depending on that kind of stuff. Maybe it's for the better or the worse, I don't know. But at least for me, it enables me to get everything done. So number one, make sure you jot everything down. So in fact, let's kind of start here. Okay, jot it down. Can you read that? Let me kind of shift a little bit. Let's go this way. I don't know if this is such a good idea writing on the chalkboard, huh? So once you jot your idea down, then that's the first step. And then once you take that first step, then what you need to do is think to yourself, okay, how do I get it done? Right? Then you think of the steps that you need to do to get it done. All right, so steps to get it done. A good idea for this is to actually jot it down on a separate document. So if it's something that's worth doing, right? Maybe you have your list of all the items that you want to get done for the year. Then what you're going to do is say, okay, of these items, which are the ones I really want to get done? Which are the high priority ones? Because some of them, when you really think about it, they're not really practical, or they're just not that important. Something that, I've always kind of wanted to do it, but it's not anything I've always wanted to do, right? You have to kind of distinguish between what you kind of want to do and what you really want to do. So first things is, once you list everything down, let's say you listed 10 different things. It doesn't have to be that many. It could just be 2, or it could be as many as 20. Just know that everything takes time. You're going to need to dedicate time to doing things. Now, once you generate that list, I would prioritize it, right? Renumber them, because you're just going to kind of put them out just kind of as they pop into your head, or as you've been thinking about them. And keep in mind, this list can be a dynamic list. You don't need to do the list today and then hold to it for the entire year. You can pull things out or put things in, switch things around as you get more information and realize that some things are a little more easily implemented than others. That's totally fine. Don't be set in stone with it, right? So you've created your list. You created a list, you jotted it down. And what you then did is, for each individual one that is worth doing something about, put it in another list, make that the title, and then create the steps, or map out the steps that you think you would need to take to get it done, right? Let's say it could be you want to start a blog page. Maybe there's something that you're particularly knowledgeable about, passionate about, and you want to write about it, right? Because there are a lot of people who have blog pages. Now, why would you have a blog page? Well, sometimes it's just because it's just a form of a diary for you. Other times, people think of it as a way to earn a little bit extra money. Yes, you can earn money writing a blog. Maybe somebody is not going to necessarily pay you to write a blog, but if it's a particular topic that you like, maybe gardening, right? And you've got some knowledge on gardening that other people don't typically have. You can share that knowledge, and you can say, this particular product works really well. You can go ahead and go to that manufacturer and find out if they have an affiliate link, and you can go ahead and put it on there, and they click on it, and you can earn some money. Okay, so tore my meniscus pretty bad. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so we're at step 2 right now. We'll come back to it. I want to answer a question right now. So, life of woe. I tore my meniscus pretty bad yesterday. I was told I'll need surgery and won't be able to bend my knee for 4 months. I had many goals, and now it's all put to a stop. How do I go about dealing with it? Okay, so I had a meniscus surgery as well. It was my lateral meniscus on my right leg. Also tore my ACL in that same incident as well. Injuries, right? So what happened was this: a meniscus repair doesn't do 4 months, maybe 2. And back in the old days, when they would actually cut your meniscus out, right? If it was torn, it'd either be torn or it'd be flapped, right? So it would kind of fold over like this, and when it was open, that's when you'd feel the pain, and when it would close up, you really wouldn't feel anything. You'd go, oh, my knee's actually okay. But what they would do is they would sew it back shut. That's what they do now, or they try to do. Back in the old days, back when they used to actually open your knee up to repair it, they would actually cut it or shave it off. I guess they still have to do that now if it's beyond repair. If it's so damaged that they can't possibly put it back together and sew it back up, they'll then cut it out. Well, other people told me that they would be back on the mats or back training within 2 weeks to a month after their procedure. Well, because when you cut it out, it doesn't need to heal, right? Because it's taken out. But what happens over time is you end up getting bone to bone, and you get arthritis and all that kind of bad stuff. So what they do is they try to repair it. So mine was repaired. And within 2 days after my surgery, I was already bending my leg. I was bending it the full 90 degrees. They send you home with a machine, and it just bends your leg this way. And I had full bend. And then I went to PT starting maybe 3 days later after they pulled the stitches out. And within 4 weeks, I was back on the mat. Now, I wasn't going hard, but I was back on the mat. And within 8 weeks, I was fully healed. Actually, probably by 6. I'd gone through rehab, and I was doing everything. So I don't know what your doctor told you. Maybe it's 4 months because of the time that you're going to have to wait to get to the part of getting your surgery, or if they already know it's torn, which means you probably had an MRI, then I don't know if it'll be 4 months. I'm not a doctor, but everybody I've known who's had meniscus repair, it wasn't that long. ACL repair, on the other hand, if you have a ligament repair, then it could be months, up, anywhere from 4 to 6 months. After my ACL repair, I was back on the mat in 4 months, and I was up to full strength at 5, maybe 6. Make sure you find a good surgeon, though. So as far as your goals, though, there are other goals that you can do. I'm not just saying jiu-jitsu goals. Although this is a jiu-jitsu channel, there are other things in life that are more important than jiu-jitsu, believe it or not. And just go ahead and set those goals up. All right. So now that we've jotted our goals down, rearrange them into high priority, and once we did, find out the ones that are most important, set them in a separate note or on a sheet of paper, whatever works best for you, and then start to jot down the steps that I would need to take to get that goal done, right? So take some time and do it for multiple goals. Don't just do it for one, right? Because you may have 5 goals that you want to do in a year. Well, try and go through the steps. It might take you an hour to go through all of them. Now, you may need to do a little research on getting something done, but that's okay. Do it now, right? Because if you don't do it now, you'll never get it done. And if you never get it done, then that goal that you wrote down was just simply a thought. So even just start with Google and just Google what it is and say steps needed to get X done, and then write it down, jot it down. And then that way you can kind of compare them and say, okay, look, this one is much easier to achieve than this. The steps for goal number 2 actually would take about 6 months to achieve, whereas the steps for goal number 1, which is just as important, in fact, it's number 1, would take a lot shorter time period. So once you know the steps that are at hand for each goal, then it's easy. Then you can get it done, right? Because now you know this one will take 6 months, this one will take 2 months. Now, you can look at it a couple ways. One is you can get started on both, knowing that one will get done sooner than the other. Or you can prioritize and get the easiest ones done first. So that way, if the 10 goals that you have set out for a year, 6 of them were easy to accomplish, 4 of them were a little harder, where at the end of the year, you go, okay, well, I got 6 of my 10 done. That's not bad, right? You can look at it that way. As much as we want to get all our goals done, we may not be able to get them all. Now, once you do that, now you need to find a way, and once you've mapped them out and said, okay, and realign them based on what you wanted to do, right? You're always going to be, you notice you're going to be changing priority of things because some things are more appealing than others, and then some things are easier to implement than others. I don't know. Hey, Rusty, how are you? Rusty's on. So, and even for Rusty, Rusty wants to build his business, right? Thankfully, he used us as one of his guinea pigs, setting up a YouTube channel. Done pretty well for us. Thank you, Rusty. And once you do step number 2, step number 3 is to don't give yourself an out. So what you need to do is you need to decide. Decide to get it done. Right? Sometimes that's the hardest part, deciding to get it done. I'll give you an example. I guess let's just use Rusty since he's on here. Rusty got out of college and learned how to do videography and also, filming, and decided he wanted to start a business, creating some clients or getting some clients. So what he did was he went ahead and, I guess, searched and somehow found us among other companies and decided to prospect. And what he did was shot me an email, and 99 times out of 100, I get an email like that, I just delete it. But for some reason, he personalized, not for some reason, he personalized that email, and then for some reason, I read it, and I looked at it and thought, you know what, let me give this guy a shot. Because a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just go into Upwork, and I'll hire a contractor to go and do something for me if I need something like that done, right? Because you can get people anywhere in the world at varying prices and various experience levels, but here was Rusty, who was in my neighborhood. So I went ahead and met him, and sure enough, it ended up working perfectly. And he had decided, and what he did, one of the things he did was he quit his job. He had 2 jobs, hardworking kid. He quit his job so that he could spend time or create some time that would be needed if he got some business. And that's what he did. So, now he, spends a lot of time working on our stuff. Now, with regard to, say, let's just say Kama Jiu-Jitsu. Upwork sucks. That's rusty. With regards to Kama Jiu-Jitsu, when we opened up our Dallas-Fort Worth campus, keep in mind that our roots are very humble. Master Dave never had more than, say, 10 students at a time. He wasn't big on creating a big school. He was just looking to create training partners just so he had people to train with every day. And at that time that I joined him about 10 years ago, he had only 2 days a week training, just Tuesdays and Thursdays. And he had a handful of students. And most of them are still with him, actually, by the way. And once we moved to this area, my thought was, okay, I would like Kama Jiu-Jitsu to become a much larger school that would be able to influence more people. Because of what I got from Master Dave, I thought everybody should have it, right? Everybody should be able to learn what he's teaching. Which then leads me to, I guess, another thought is one of the ways that we thought, how can we get more people immersed in Kama Jiu-Jitsu that are not Kama Jiu-Jitsu students? Well, have a camp, right? And we've got the Hawaii camp coming. I've got 2 slots left. And that might be something you might want to do, because when else, where else, if you're not a student of either campus, are you going to get to spend 20 hours with Dave Kama teaching you? 20 hours in 1 week, right? So it's from March 11th through March 15th. Monday through Friday, we've got classes Monday through Friday evenings and Tuesday, Thursday morning. So 20 hours in total, where you can learn directly under one of the Dirty Dozen and one of RICKSON's contribution to the Dirty Dozen. Both Professor Fernando and I will be there as well. So if this is something that you're interested, make that decision. Go ahead and email us, kamajujitsu@gmail.com, and we can go over that, kamajujitsu@gmail.com. So now, once we decide to do something, we need to create leverage, right? I got crappy chalk, huh? So create leverage. Now, what exactly does it mean to create leverage? So, oh, by the way, Rusty, since you're on here, I did a video earlier that basically covered this topic, so you can scratch that video. Creating leverage is a concept that, I don't know how I got it. I mean, I've been thinking of this like this for years, but creating leverage is making something so important to yourself that you cannot quit, right? Here, one way to make sure that you remain employed and earning some money to put some food on the table, a good way to create leverage on yourself is to have a family, right? Because if you have people who depend on you, you cannot fail. You need to go out and do what you need to do day in and day out. I don't care how much it sucks, I still have to do it, right? On the other hand, if you don't have a family, you only have you to deal with, right? I don't care if I don't have this or I don't have that, or I just need to have enough for me. But when you have to start feeding other people, other family members, then you make that decision, that's your leverage, right? So that's one example. Another example would be, let's say you want to start jiu-jitsu. Let's say you're not currently training in jiu-jitsu and you just kind of fell into our channel. I don't know why. Maybe you're looking at it at some point, but you haven't decided, right? You never wrote it down. You didn't put it in your, on your list of things to do. You didn't look for a school, right? You didn't look at the steps. You didn't go buy your gi yet, and you haven't decided. So you just kind of watch a channel, and I'll watch this Kama Jiu-Jitsu Ryan guy, and let's kind of see what he has to say, and find this interesting. And you keep watching. We got a lot of those, by the way. Thank you by the way. And if you haven't already, go and subscribe. But let's say that's something you've always wanted to do, but you never did it. Well, Why did you never do it? Because you're never really accountable to anyone to do it. So here's one way to create leverage. And I've heard other people who've joined use this as their reason. Because here we are back to family again. A gentleman tells me, I have kids and they're very young. And the one thing that I want them to do is I want them to be able to defend themselves should I not be able to protect them. Now here's the thing. I'm not super confident in protecting myself, let alone my family. So what I want to do is I want to learn Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And then once I learn it, or as I learn it, I want to be able to pass it on to my children so they can learn the skills needed, you know, because my father never taught me, so that I can now teach my children and they can be, at least feel a little more confident than I did, right? So that's leverage. Another way to get leverage, using the same jiu-jitsu analogy, was I had actually a member, when we first created, actually we didn't, he asked, do you have a program where I can pay 12 months up front? We didn't at the time. You know, we just instituted that a year ago. So I thought, no, but I guess that's something you can do. I said, yeah, sure, I could do it. So what we did was we created the program, took 10% off for him paying up front to give him a reason to do it. But his real reason was, if I pay for it all up front, that's a lot of money, so that I now need to keep coming because I've already paid the money. That makes sense, right? But he did save 10% for doing that, so it's almost like getting a free month. Or was it? No, he actually got a free month for it. You know, you think about it, because, you know, 10% off, you know, 12 months in a year. So yeah, it's like he did get a free month and then some. But by doing that, it allowed him to think to himself, okay, you know, he created leverage on himself. That's what did it for him, right? Some people are not motivated by money in that sense, so that wouldn't work. So another thing you could do is you could just tell people, right? Tell people that this is what you're gonna do. I'm gonna do it, right? I'm gonna, yeah. So I need you to hold me to it, yeah. Because why? If you don't do it, then those people or those friends, they may go, Ryan, he's so full of it. He talks a lot. Nobody likes to be thought of in that way. So if you create leverage on yourself to do it that way, then it'll work, right? So that's really it right there. And then the last step is to just do it. That's easy, right? So a lot of people will say, hey, I want to do something. You know, they'll tell me, so I'll say, just do it, right? But it's really not that easy. Well, it is. It is. But if you're not wired to do things, then you're not going to, right? Most people are not decision makers. Okay, let me ask you this. How many times have you gone out to meet with some friends? Or you're thinking about meeting some friends? Let's talk about it. Let's kind of get together, right? And that's the famous one. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. You know, yeah, it's been a while. It's been about a year or so. Hey, we got to get together. Okay, yeah, I'll get together. All right, I'll call you, right? And guess what? Nothing ever happens, right? So another year goes by, you bump into each other. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. It's the same conversation over and over and over. It's like Groundhog Day, right? So what you do is just say, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. You're right, I haven't seen you. What are you doing on Friday? I'm not doing anything. Let's go grab lunch. Perfect. Get in your calendars, set the day, then you go, right? And that's also a good reason to meet up with somebody who you haven't seen in a while, and it turns out maybe that person has the ability to make you reach some other goal that you were doing. You know, hey, I was looking to start a blog post, or a blog on gardening, just like that example I used earlier. Well, as a matter of fact, I just purchased a nursery, and I've got everything you need, and I've even got people you can talk with and you can go over stuff with. Really? How did you know that? Well, you didn't know that until you decided to make a decision to go and meet with this person who you haven't talked to in a little while, right? And it was an easy decision. Just simply, hey, I haven't seen you. Yes, let's get together. Let's do it today, or let's do it tomorrow, whatever day you want to choose. Those are easy decisions. And here's another key. Make a lot of decisions, right? Make decisions. I apologize if you can't read it. I got a really crappy piece of chalk, and that's the only one I got left. So if you make decisions all the time, then you will get very good at it, right? If you train jiu-jitsu all the time, you will get very good at it. Well, provided you're doing the right things, right? You know, just because you're making decisions doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get better at them. For instance, if the decision you always make is to brush my teeth, well, okay, I brush my teeth every day, twice, 3 times a day even. You know, that's an easy, it doesn't take anything to make that decision. And if that's the level of decision making I'm making, I'm not gonna be very good at making a decision like I need to draw up a business plan, right? Which is a much bigger decision to make, right? So elevate your decision making. Make harder decisions. But don't go and make the hardest decision up front, right? So that's it right there. And give me 1 second. I'm going to go over a concept now. We're 30 minutes into this now. And this one has to do with hitting your goals in jiu-jitsu that actually I got watching a video on Higgin Machado, believe it or not. Well, not believe it or not. Higgin's a legend. And I've never learned from him. I don't even think I've met him. I've met his brother Carlos. I briefly trained under his brother Hodger when Hodger was running a school for Brad Jackson, when Brad was my instructor. But it was something, I guess it's the way that he articulated it, which then allowed me to then extrapolate on how this could be valuable for my students. And it had to do with everybody who trains, you know, from white to black belt. You have to think of, you know, we all know that there are levels, right? A black belt is a lower level, is a higher level than is a white belt in achievement with regard to jiu-jitsu. Has nothing to do with life. You know, you have people who are black belts who are very unsuccessful in life, and people who are white belts who are very successful in life. I guess it just depends on what you gauge as successful in life. But as far as jiu-jitsu goes, if you imagine that jiu-jitsu is simply a progression of stairs. Let me see if I can write on this because it's still wet. So you have white belt, blue belt, you have purple belt, brown belt, and black belt. Oops, BLU. Right. So if you imagine at white belt, you're just walking in on the ground floor. And then the black belt is at the top of this particular staircase. But like I'd mentioned in another video about what happens once you get the black belt, you'll realize that there are more stairs to climb. And that if you just stop at that particular stair, you're missing out on a whole bunch. And which is why I don't understand how people can spend all their time learning jiu-jitsu. Well, you know, that's just me. I just don't comprehend it. But that doesn't mean it's not good or anything like that. It's just different. Where, you know, to accomplish a black belt, to earn a black belt in jiu-jitsu, you have to make it part of your life. Because it's so involved, it takes so long, it takes so much of you to earn it, that stopping it, to me, it's just, how am I going to possibly stop training or teaching jiu-jitsu once I get my black belt, right? You know, I don't have any desire to get a black belt in anything else, because jiu-jitsu is my life. But there are a lot of people who I guess a lot of people come into jiu-jitsu with black belts and other arts, but I don't know how many leave jiu-jitsu to go pursue other black belts. I don't know. But anyway, there's so much more. So these stairs that you see here, you're not at the top of the staircase when you get to, you know, that black belt level right there. That is not the top of the staircase. That is just midway through. But here's the thing. It makes sense that you're gonna have to climb stairs. But the whole thing about time, right? Time doesn't work because you could be languishing on that bottom stair, or you could be languishing on the blue belt stair. Like I languished on the purple belt stair for 10 years. And here's the thing with jiu-jitsu is that you need to decide this is what you want to do. You know, you could think of the whole thing about the decision-making process that we just did. You know, jot it down, okay, that's fine. You decided you want to join and you joined, right? Now that you're doing it, you need to decide that you want to learn more, right? Some people think just deciding to show up, right? A black belt is simply a white belt that kept showing up. That's wrong. You have to kind of amend it. A black belt is a white belt who never stopped learning and never stopped trying to get better, right? Just showing up doesn't mean you get better. Just showing up means that you get to train and roll around. Yeah, it's fun, but at the end of the day, did you get any better, right? If my goal is to do 1,000 push-ups and I do 100 right now, and I come into I go to the gym and I exercise and I do 100 push-ups every day. Did I improve at all? I did not. So here's the way you have to look at it. Each of those stairs represents your level. So here I am, I'm a white belt, and I want to get up to blue belt. What I need to do is I need to find a way to gather stones. And I need to stack them. Because I may be only this tall. How am I supposed to get up a stair that's twice my height? Right? Every time you learn something you need to know, it becomes a stone that which you can then stack on top of another stone that you've put down earlier. Eventually you get to the point where your stones are high enough to where you now end up at the blue belt level. Now, there are a lot of people who train and who've never gotten a blue belt and they're still white belts. But technically, you know, if you look at their game, they're just as good or better than many blue belts. Right? So that does happen. On the other hand, you could have other students who have been at white belt for 2 years and still are on the first stone. Right? So that's where the timeline method of promotion falls flat in its face. Because 2 guys have been there 5 years. One guy stacked the stone so high, he's as good as any blue belt in the school. Another guy only stacked 1 stone. But they both were there 2 years. Well, guess what? On a timeline basis, they're both going to get it. It's not fair. But I guess life's not fair, right? So the person who says, well, I got better, I worked hard, I set a plan in motion to gather stones and stack them. And I've done it, but yet this other person gets the same achievement that I do. Number one, it's, you know, don't worry about what other people are doing. But number two is that person who got the promotion, despite not earning it, he's not getting done a favor, right? He'll be one of those people who ends up wearing a black belt, and I actually know one in particular, who just gets abused by people. And he doesn't seem to think about it. Doesn't seem to go, you know, is there something wrong? And it's not as if he's getting abused by younger, faster, stronger people. You know, people who are his age, his demographic, you know, about his size, but who at a blue belt level have much more skill than he does. You know, it's kind of a sad state, but it happens. So at every level, you're going to have to gather stones. Now, here's the thing. People help each other. I mean, it's an individual journey, but we can help each other. But here's the thing. I am, as an instructor, I'll give you the stones. All the stones that you need to stack so you can climb up. But you're going to need to stack the stone yourself. Right? If you don't stack the stone yourself, you'll have a bunch of stones gathered, but it'll all be flat. It won't be high enough for you to stand on it to then climb up to the blue belt level, or the purple belt, or the brown belt, or the black belt, if that makes any sense, right? So your job in learning jiu-jitsu is to stack stones. Learn the concepts, learn the philosophies, learn the techniques. Each of those are stones you need to stack. Some are bigger stones and some are smaller stones, right? Technique, I would say, is a smaller stone. Concept, much bigger stone, right? So, but you need them all. And if you go through a methodical way of doing things, then you will conquer the belt system. So if you haven't already, take an inventory of what's going on in your jiu-jitsu life and say, look, I'm still wearing a white belt. And then ask yourself, why am I still wearing a white belt? Is it because I'm not competent? And if it is because of that, you need to get competent. You need to develop that competence. And you then ask your instructor, okay, you may need, if it's a big school, you may need to book a private with him, right? And find out, hey, professor, you know what? I've been doing this for 2 years now. I'd like to book a session with you so that you can find all the holes in my knowledge and help me plug them. Okay, that's what I did when I joined Dave Kama's school. I pulled Professor Fernando aside and said, look, I was a brown belt, and I said, my open guard game, and when I trained with Fernando, he exploited it and made it evident to me that I had no ability to play an open guard. So I just pulled him aside. I said, hey, can I book you for some sessions so that you can teach me this? Because I knew that's what my biggest glaring flaw was at the time. So of course, about 5 months, every Sunday, I'd train with him and he would give me another thing to do. Train with him, give him another thing to do. And eventually it got all dialed in. After 5 months, he just told me, you know what? He goes, your open guard is good now. He says, there's not really much more that I need to teach you on this. And that's what made me realize that I need to look at everything on a piece-by-piece basis, and I need to evaluate every single piece. So that was a major stone that I had not gotten, but yet I kept getting passed through the belts, right? And that's something that I think was important for me to learn how to play. I had no concept about, I did everything by feel, but my feel was, there's no reason behind it. I didn't go that way because there was a logical reason. It's just, I thought my body just kind of went that way automatically, and then I'd get my guard passed, right? So that was a big stone that I needed, and it was stuff that I should have learned earlier. But it's never too late. So once you, like I said, as a white belt, you take that inventory, and as a white belt, you really don't know. You have to actually check with your professor. Take that inventory of what you need, and then decide to get it done. Take the actions needed to get it done, and then get it done. And then once you get it done, then now your professor is going to go, yeah, we've plugged all the holes. Well, guess what? That blue belt's going to come. Now, if he's a professor that requires you test, formal test, then you're going to have to book the formal test and get it done, right? Do everything that's required to get to where you want. Now, it doesn't matter now if it's a white, blue, purple, or brown belt. It's all the same, right? So now that once you're a black belt, then it gets to be, well, if you run a school, then you need to do that type of thinking for the school, one stone at a time, right? And decision-making, goal setting, and goal achievement is not superhuman. Whereas you would see a lot of people that achieve a lot of things and you think, wow, that's actually pretty, how'd you do that? Once you know the steps, it's all repeatable. And that's why a lot of these videos that we do are jiu-jitsu related, but they're also life related. Because why? It's all the same. It's just inputting a different, it's all modular, is what I tell people as well. Jiu-jitsu is modular, meaning you have a couple of core body movements that are repeated in various positions, believe it or not, right? Whereas I was originally taught that there's a specific way to get out of mount, there's a specific way to get out of technical mount, there's a specific way to get out of guard, right? Now, some of that may be true, but for the most part, there are core concepts that work under most conditions, right? And once you get your decision-making muscles ready in life, you'll do just fine in jiu-jitsu, or vice versa. Use jiu-jitsu as your launching pad to help you become more successful-minded in life, right? Rickson had that saying, what does it take for the average person to earn a black belt? And his answer was the average person will never earn a black belt. Now, that's not to say that the average person cannot develop into an above average or extraordinary person. He didn't say that. He just says that if you are just plain old average, you will not get it. Because average people have average ways of thinking. Average ways of thinking, just status quo, right? To achieve anything in life, you cannot be status quo. You need to think above and beyond. But a lot of times, it's not any kind of genetic thing, genetic limitation that you may have, right? Me being able to slam dunk a basketball, a regulation basketball, and a regulation net, yeah, that's a genetic limitation, right? I'm okay with it, right? So, but as far as making decisions and achieving stuff in life, you know, you don't have to achieve, maybe you're not gonna be able to achieve what you wanna achieve, but that doesn't mean you can't achieve anything. You can achieve something, right? So start by deciding, start by achieving. And hopefully this particular graphic worked for you, right? All it is you're just climbing stairs. Well, how do you climb stairs that are too high? Gather rocks or stones. What are those stones? The individual concepts, philosophies, and techniques that you need to know, right? We have a video, need to know concepts versus good to know. Not the good to know stuff, it's the need to know stuff you need to use to stack your stones. Once you stack your stones, then climb up. Now, if you want to help someone, help them by offering them a stone, but still, you cannot pull them up to the next level. They're gonna have to climb it themselves, right? They're gonna have to stack their own stones, but you can give them the stones, because a lot of times, you know, if you're just standing there and you have nobody to guide you, no professor, no training partners, you're standing and you're going, okay, what do I do now, right? You have no stones. They're not nobody's giving you any stones, right? So they can give you the stones, but you still have to do with it what you need to do. So anyway, that's all I've got for now. If there's anything that I can help you with, then go ahead and just shoot a question in the comments below. And I want to thank you guys, whoever has been engaging with us on the question and answer side. Thank you so much. It's helped me to make this channel a better channel for you by giving me stuff that you guys want to know. And granted, I don't know everything, but you know, I've been around a little while, so I might know a little bit. And as long as I have somebody pull something out of my head, I'm happy to get it out to you guys. In the meantime, thanks for joining us, and be careful this new year. Try not to get injured, and don't be like you know, Life of Woe. I like that. That's a funny name. Don't get injured like him. Now, a lot of times you can't control that, but still, the person most responsible for your safety is you. So don't let yourself get slammed either. No good. That's all I got for you. Take care now. Happy training. Bye-bye now.